All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview where every single week I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses out there dominating their space. And today, you guys, we've got another amazing, epic guest here on the podcast. Just to share some context, so our guest, they started in real estate, and he started his real estate career back in 2001 in Chicago. Started building up his real estate business there, started a real estate company there, then decided, he and his wife decided to move, our family, I should say, at that point, decided to move to Houston, Texas. So they left their business in Chicago, started from scratch in Houston, built up a successful team there, then decided to move once again and move to the DMV area, so the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. But this time they decided to keep their Houston team and then build a secondary team in the DMV area, where now he and his wife run and operate two successful teams in two different states. So really stoked and honored to have Keith Jackson on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Joshua. I'm glad to be here. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm excited for this, man. I'm excited. So you got, you and your wife, Kelly. I know Kelly's not feeling well today. So, you and I are jamming here on this. And, give us an idea before we kind of unpack your journey. What do your two different teams look like today? I mean, because you've got the, DMV team and then the Houston team.
If I had to describe it, I would say obviously our Houston team is the more mature team. They've been with us the longest. So I would say most of the folks on the Houston team are 2 to 3 years in, and we have maybe 1 or 2 newbies on there. Here in the DMV, we just really kicked this thing off essentially 2021, and we have 3 to 4 members here that have come over, and I would say most of those have had 1 to 2 year experience. We had maybe 1 or 2 newbies on there. So I say our sweet spot for team members are maybe, between that 1 and 3 year of experience. They've had a go, they've had a couple deals, and then they realize it's just not kicking in the way I want. Maybe I need some more support. The team makes sense. And that's pretty much our sweet spot for team members.
Yep, love it. Okay, so a lot of people, if they're not familiar with, the DMV market, again, I know I said this but that's, the DC, Maryland, Virginia market. And then that kind of tri-state area there. I mean, it's really common to be licensed in 3 spots, working all 3 locations. So I'm assuming you and Kelly and all your agents licensed kind of in that tri area.
For the most part, most of the agents carry at least two of the areas. Kelly obviously carries all 3. I carry just Maryland and Virginia, Maryland and DC, but typically you get that odd mix. Most people either have DC, Maryland, or they have all 3.
Okay. Yep.
Very rarely do you have somebody with just one, because you're just in maybe a 30-minute. It's nothing to be driving along. Welcome to DC. 5 minutes later, welcome to Maryland. It just makes sense because you never know. Someone may show up. I want to live in DC. Oh, the price point's too high. Let's look in Maryland. You want to be able to service that client no matter what they say.
Yeah. So one of my best friends in the business, Leo Preja. Well, I don't know if you know Leo or ever heard of him, but he was the number 1 Keller Williams agent in the world for a long time. But he's since sold his real estate company and on to other things now. But he was in the DMV area when the market crashed. He was able to get strategic REO accounts in all 3 locations. So it's same geographical area, but do like 3 times the amount of volume of everybody else, because he could get loaded up 3x what everybody else was allowed to, so there's definitely some big advantages there. So, all right, man, if we were to rewind the clock. So, okay, 2001, you guys jump in the business, you're in Chicago. What did you do before real estate, and why real estate? What led you guys into this industry?
Kelly was a nurse administrator, so she had a good job. I mean, she had summers off, great salary in Chicago. And she never really cared for it. The location, everything was kind of rough. And I was an engineer, and then I was in sales. So I was traveling 4 days a week, anywhere from Chicago, as far west as Vancouver, as far south, I was hitting Juarez, Mexico. So I was going 4 days out the week. And what made us make the leap was one of my youngest son was born premature with a lot of complications. I called my company, said, I got to come off the road. I got to get home. I have to be home. So I went back to work at the plant. They told me we were going to close it down no matter what, if you want to do it. I said, I just got to be home for my family. Whatever you decide to do, I want to work and I got to be home. Well, they closed and they were saying the next move was come back to Pittsburgh. My wife is from Pittsburgh. She says, I'm not going back to Pittsburgh. So that's when she said, let's jump into real estate. We argue all day. You know, I'm saying, are you crazy? You know, this doesn't make sense. Next day, she was in class during the afternoon. I was going at night when I was finishing up the project, closing it down. So had the same instructor. We were able to study together. And, you know, I was beating her out on most of the tests, but on the final, she got me by 1 point. So
Yeah.
it worked out.
Yeah, no competition there, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, love it, man. So then now, did you guys jump in full time, or was it kind of a thing where she was still, keeping the nursing administrative job? And
She jumped in. Well, we jumped in full time. So she just cut whatever she was doing, quit the job with the nursing. She started a floral business on the side, but real estate in the floral business. Fortunately for me, I had a small severance package I took from my company, and I said, okay, I got so many months to make something happen before things, get really dicey. So we leaped in full time and made it work with the premature baby at home. So it was like we had the pressure on us to make something happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, yeah, with a new family and yeah, it's scary, but even though it's scary, I'm sure that applied pressure, because when we get comfortable, if we still have a good salary, it's like, if we don't have to create success, a lot of people then don't. So I'm sure that back against the wall, that probably forced you to take actions that maybe you wouldn't have taken otherwise.
I would say that's definitely true. For me, I had to get over myself, leaving a job where my clients were pretty much I knew where I was going, knew what we were going to talk about. Had to get over that fact that in real estate, nobody cares what you did, what industry you came from. You have to go earn it every day. And both my wife and I are kind of competitive. She was having success. I wasn't having success. It made me take a big introspective look at myself to say, nobody cares that you were an engineer. That doesn't matter what the hill of beans. They want to know, can you sell my house? Do you have the skills? And are you willing to go get out there and find them? So I had to really check myself to bring my business up.
Yeah. Yeah. So then what was it? So with that internal reflection, having to kind of let go of that ego, but what then allowed you to make that shift and transition, and like, what were those actions that you started taking?
Well, I watched Kelly take off. I'm like, she's kicking my tail. She's kicking my tail with production. And so that was the biggest thing. And then what I said was, well, you know how to sell, but you don't, my prospecting wasn't up to par, knowing what it takes to prospect. And so I had to shift my focus that every day I got to get out and meet somebody, get on the phones. And really, in the Chicago market was different. It was more transactional. So between making phone calls, I did a lot of cold calling. I'm gonna date myself by using a Haynes directory, calling through the Haynes directory, cancels and expireds, getting out there and going to appointments. And then a lot of mail direct mail worked. So between those three things, we were able to turn up some business because we really didn't know anybody in Chicago. We didn't have any family there. So everything we developed was churning it out.
Yeah.
When the market crashed, Kelly jumped in the REO. And so she worked her way in from the ground up. And that really helped carry us through. So we saw the highs, and I kept telling her, I said, do you feel the market shifting? She didn't see it, but fortunately, she had already worked her way in the REO by the time it crashed. We were able to have that carry us through.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys were then in Chicago for some time, right? Because it crashed, 2008?
Yes. So, I get reminded of this. I took the position, and we moved to Chicago based upon, I said, we're only going to be here. I'm going to have this territory for 3 years. We moved in 1995. We didn't leave till 2015. So I was way off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way off. Yeah. So we were there for quite a while. We lived through the crash. We saw the market run up, and then when it crashed hard in Chicago. The markets that crashed hard from all my REO reading: Chicago, Arizona, Vegas, and Florida.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe some parts of California, but man, bottom just completely fell out. At one point, everything you sold was REO or short sale.
Yep. Yeah, that was us too, man. It was it seemed like about 90% of everything seemed to be distressed. And
Yes.
homes that you were selling for 350, now you're selling for 100,
Yeah.
I had plots of land that we were selling like, acre for 150 at the bottom
Mhm.
selling for $5,000.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
People giving you keys. People just leave the keys on to say, do what you have to do with this. I'm out.
yeah. Now,
So
what
it
did
was
you
rough.
guys, how did you, because look, I mean, we were both in the market at that time, and a lot of people got blindsided by it, and the reason why I'm asking this is, look, market's always shifting and changing. And at some point in
Mhm.
our careers, we're going
Right.
to see something, maybe not to that severity, but something, there's ups and there's downs, right? So we
Mhm.
have to have the ability to read markets. Like what were you guys seeing that allowed yourself to position yourself into that REO distress market to be able to pivot with those times, or be positioned and be prepared before it even crashed?
Right. I think, we started the office we were first at, you know, we started with one company, the blue and white, jumped to the red, white, and blue. And in that particular office, everybody was six-figure producers, and wasn't nobody stopping to help you. It was like either you catch the wave and you get in here and you mix it up with the sharks. And I think Kelly started to see some of the bigger agents having some foreclosure, and she had the foresight to say, how do I get into that? How do I get there? And so she was working on that. I was working with traditional sales. And so she got in with a few small fish and BPO work, all the grind, putting it in, sometimes not getting paid. But then she finally caught on with one big bank and then Fannie Mae. And so that's just how we got rolling. And the other thing that helped us out was we had a house, we bought a new construction house. That builder was like, the company you with, the broker you with, we don't work with them. We bought a second one, but we had made the move to a new broker. We sent another announcement saying we've switched. And they said, we'll give you a shot to sell our contingencies. In Chicago, it's very rare for builders to list with the agent, but they said, if you can help us sell the tough contingencies. And before you know it, we were getting all those contingencies. So we had like two pillars to help us when that market crashed, fell out.
Yep. Yep. No, I love that. So then, okay. So then 2000, you're there till 2015. You then moved to Houston, Texas. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time, you decide to just let the Chicago business go. Like what prompted that move?
My daughter was just graduating from school, and like I said, the market in Chicago was still stagnant.
Yeah.
And so she said, I'm going to come home and I'm just going to do Teach for America. I don't know what I want to do. I said, I don't know if I want you coming back to Chicago and they put you in one of these rough schools. I'm going to be worried about you every day. So why don't you see what else they have around the country? So she looked at Vegas, she looked at Phoenix, and then Houston. She said, well, I got an interview for Houston. She got the job and she moved. And came down to visit. It was like the blizzard. It was December. We get to Houston, it's 65 degrees, it's beautiful. And I'm like, why am I still up here struggling in a market that's we just can't seem to catch traction to come up out of this recession piece? And I said, hey, what do you think about moving? She said, are you serious? I said, I'm serious. She said, we don't have anything. We don't have anybody. We don't know anybody. I said, well, first I thought I was going to get a job there. And I tried to apply for a couple of jobs, real estate jobs, even the city of Houston, and brought me in for city manager of real estate. Never heard back. And I just said, let's just make the move. We're going to ramp up business in Chicago, save everything we can, and we're just going to cut ties and go. And that's how we did it, to just get out of the Chicago and be closer with our daughter. And it was a grind. It was stressful. Our biggest mistake was we brought Chicago mentality to Houston. We wasted thousands of dollars for the first couple of months with direct mail, and those tactics just didn't catch on with Houston. They're more social media. They want to get to know you. And you have the community mailboxes. So people don't go get their mail, but maybe once a week or so.
Yeah.
Whereas in Chicago, it's at the door. Everything's right into the house. So it took us a while to realize Chicago tactics that worked there didn't travel well for Houston.
Now, do you think it's that those tactics just didn't work at all? Or do you think it was, okay, you were so established through those tactics in Chicago, they still worked, where now you're breaking into a new market, the internet's full blown now, social media's full blown. that you weren't able to develop the same traction that you did in Chicago because you weren't as established? Do you think it was a market thing or just?
Maybe that's it. I think it was. I think what you're saying is factual. We were brand new to a new city, and we think just because we sent out a bunch of flyers and direct mail advertising what's happening as far as pricing, market updates, they don't know us. And so I think, like you said, that we had to become more familiar, and social media was their way to become familiar with you. Prior to moving to Houston, I wasn't on social media. I had no desire to be on social media. But my wife said, if we're going to make this move, you're going to have to get on social media because people are going to want to know who you are before they even sit down with you. And so that's really what prompted me to get on social media, was making that transition to Houston.
Yep, love it. All right, so second time now, starting from scratch again, but just like the first time in Chicago, you guys didn't know anybody there. Now you're in a new market, don't know anybody again. Things that were working weren't, are no longer working. Like, what did you start doing to develop that? Because obviously you guys had big success there, otherwise you wouldn't still have your team there. What did you start doing then to get that traction? Because I think so often, and the reason why I'm asking this is, so often I think that people in this industry feel they're pigeonholed into this location. Maybe they can't stand where they live anymore, but they think, oh, I'm stuck here because I spent all these years building this business. But look, we can rebuild or do what you did and do an expansion team, with that. But what did you guys start doing that started to, build that momentum there?
Well, we started immediately networking, going to networking events. And I'm not a networker. I like meeting new people. What I found frustrating was the after meeting, the one-on-one meeting. Sometimes people, how do they say? It's not so much a mutual coming together. It's more like they dump on you about their business and they really aren't interested in a mutual relationship. So that would be frustrating. So we did a lot of networking, but then we dug in really hard with studying subdivisions, because Houston is pretty transient, a lot of new construction, and people move a lot. So we would identify those subdivisions where there was a lot of movement, pull up all the numbers for those communities, either cold call around that community or call canceled and expired. So the bulk of my day was canceled and expired calls, and then cold calling around whatever sold in a community or subdivision where there was a lot of movement. And that was the bulk of our day to really get our first business. And I remember our first listing was an out-of-town seller from cold calling around a community. And that's what kind of got us going.
Yep. So then how long was it before you started your team there?
So we got there, we ran back to the brokerage we knew. We was with them for about a year, 2 years. And it started, Kelly started not feeling well. I was told, I said, we really need to start thinking about building a team, because we're both we're vulnerable. Both of us being in real estate, something happened to you, something happened to me, it's up in smoke. So we need some leverage. So if something happens, we can continue to generate income. So I would say it was around 2018 when we first really looked at building a team. And we started it. We brought some people on. It didn't pan out. Kelly just, after a while, let them all go. She was ready to throw her hands up. I said, let's not give up on this idea. I think the idea is good. We just have to work through. Not everybody's going to be a fit. And so then we found a few people come up saying, well, I've been doing this for a year, 2 years. I don't think I'm getting what I need, and I want to consider a team. And so from that standpoint, COVID kind of helped with me. I would do a weekly, instead of we would have weekly office meetings. So I would do a weekly Zoom, just going over tactics to stay in production. And from doing that, some of the people that were on that call approached me saying, I've been trying to get this thing going. I think I need a team. And can I sit down with you? I said, I couldn't sell. I said, but you can talk to Kelly, because in my leadership role, I wasn't allowed to sell. And I would make sure I talk to say, this person not satisfied with what we're offering here. They want to join a team. They want to talk to Kelly. Are you good with that? They said, fine. And so those same people are still with us on the team now.
Okay. Yep. No, that's awesome. So, okay. At that point, then you were the, kind of that leadership role for the brokerage.
Yes.
In addition to assisting Kelly with, growing out the team.
Yes.
Okay. So you're, doing trainings for the overall brokerage, and that then led to, okay, recruiting for the team, people that realized that they needed more
Yeah,
support.
recruiting for the team, and we're recruiting for the brokerage. And then sometimes those people would get there and like, that's not enough. I need the next level. I need a team. And so I would introduce them to all the teams there. And then with us being one of them, they might come to our team.
Okay, perfect. And then, okay, so then, because I really want to start breaking down like what you guys are doing today, because the market is drastically changed in the last, 18 to 24 months. But
Yeah.
then, okay, like, I mean, COVID happens, and then right in the middle of that, I think you said, well, October 2020 is when you guys decided to, keep the team in Houston, but then personally move, to Maryland.
Yes.
So then that was prompted by, you got a job offer, same role, but just new location out there.
Top guy, the promotion to be the team leader versus instead of the assistant to be a team leader here in the Maryland. So I came up in October. The whole family came up in December. And Kelly was frustrated now. We're back in that seasonal market like Chicago. She's doing all the things and winter set in and nothing's happening. I kept telling her, I said, just be patient. We're back in a seasonal market like we were in Chicago. As spring comes, it'll hit. And before you know it, the referrals and business start kicking in. And then we started attracting people. And so we had a great year. That 20, even with COVID just on the tip, we had a fantastic year. 2022 was solid. And then, like you say, you started seeing a change in 2022, like that second half, like, what's going on? And so what you asked me, what are we doing right now? Right now, we're pouring into our teams that I saw your message today. Skill based. You gotta skill based. You have to have solutions and skill based. Going over your scripts again. Knowing how to handle objections. That was your thing today. No, we have to put the message out to our customers and not let the media influence them. And the media is doing a heck of a job, but we have to be the counterbalance to that. And then the other thing we're doing is, you told me you weren't going to participate in the COVID thing. You're not going to let that stop you. And we're telling our team members, yes, interest rates are up. We're not going to participate and put our heads in the sand. We're going to go out and preach a message that it's a great time to buy. Interest rates are where they are right now. If you wait, let's say we are lucky enough to come down, now you face massive competition and can overpay. So would you prefer to buy a house now? Or do you want to wait for all the competition? If rates do come down, do you want to wait for competition to spur you to overpay for that same house that you could have bought today? Would you prefer to own that house versus trying to compete and buy that house? So we're pouring into the team that database, following up to your database, using your scripts, coming with a message of, yeah, we have solutions to get around these interest rates. 2-1 buy downs. There are ways to still get you into the house. We're not going to participate. So we're taking, I guess, a proactive approach and creating a market where there might not be a market. We have a lot of properties that, for example, we just had a homeowner, the house is in distress though, needs a major work, and they just want out. We put it on Facebook Marketplace. Man, we had 100 some leads coming in a day. And so then I said, well, and they're still owner occupied. I said, well, we just can't have these people running through the house. I'll just do a 2-hour open house for investors on a Monday morning, Monday from 11 to 1. I had about 20 groups come through. We got maybe 8 to 10 offers in that one day. So that was light bulb moment. You could create a market. Pick an investment property or something an investor would want, promote it, and get leads for free. So we have to be proactive and create markets where there might not be a market. Don't sit back and take the punches, deliver some punches. That's what we're preaching to our team, both here in Texas.
Yeah. It seems that, and with the blessing of it is that most agents that are licensed today, they never had to develop these skill sets and never had to be proactive and think outside the box. So for those of us that have the skill sets or willing to develop the skill sets, and then, like you mentioned, create the market or finding the niche of people that truly have the need right now, man, it's like fishing with dynamite. Even though transaction volume's down, it's like there's no reason why anybody should be participating in this contraction era with closing transactions, and I know the vast majority of the industry will, but look, I mean, you're average. Like, we don't want to be average in this business, dude.
No.
So I love it, man. And so you're finding, cause I'm seeing this too, where it's like, I'm like telling my agents all the time, I'm like, guys, this is not a market about, the fancy shiny object. This isn't a market about fancy funnels. Now, if you got the fundamentals dialed in, you want to stack on some fancy funnels. Okay, fine. But like, this is a market where it's back to the fundamentals, back to the basics.
Yes.
Skill set matters. And as you mentioned, it's like, you got to be a great problem solver.
Oh yeah. And you say it, I'm sure most trainers, your database, these people are in there for a reason. They came to your site, they raised their hand for some, they might not be ready. Don't ignore them. Stay in touch, drip them with value so that when they are ready, of all the thousands of realtors out there, you're top of mind and they come back to you. And so, like you say, create a market. You have a property someone wants to sell that doesn't want to put it on the market, promote that, because there's a lot of buyers out there looking. And that's something that you can promote, saying, I have off-market property, someone wants to sell, I have buyers interested, match them together, create that momentum, that excitement for yourself in your own business. And don't let the media throw that wet rag on it. You create it, and like you say, you can still thrive and come out on the other side. For those people that, not everybody's going to make it through this period. And, maybe it's not meant to be, but for those that stay in it, we can come out on the side much better off than what we started.
Yeah. Now, you guys, you had a lot of success during the great financial crisis. And by me asking this, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not saying that I think this is going to be another great financial crisis, but we are seeing an uptick, and a strong uptick in defaults, right? You got about 3 million mortgages right now in default status. And are you guys starting to kind of reestablish those relationships with banks and getting back into that position?
Well, here in the DMV, we personally, I'm pretty sure I speak for Kelly. Kelly doesn't want to go back that route. Chicago was pretty rough, harrowing, and a lot of calls at midnight from police and whatever about your property. So she has no desire. But what I do see being a niche, if those agents that aren't familiar with short sales, get familiar, because I do believe the banking industry won't allow it to get to the point that we saw on 6, 7, and 8. I think they'll try to come with either loan mod, pre-foreclosure sale, or short sale. So I'm urging everybody, get your skills up and knowledge about how it operates in your particular state, because Maryland is an attorney state. Once it's the deal signed, you hand it off and you're done. What more, if you can line up 10 of those and you step out of it once it's under contract, that's nice. That's 10 deals that you're not babysitting. The attorneys are negotiating it. So that is what I'm encouraging our team. Get familiar with that. We may see the foreclosure thing rise, but my thing with that is, for those agents that want to get into it, we learned early, just having 1 or 2 foreclosure properties becomes more of a drain with the money you have to front. In order for it to really pan out, you need to have those connections, that have multiple resources or connections, that you have 20 to 30 foreclosure properties for it to make sense. And you need the team behind you to help you service those and all that. So if that's the way you want to go, be sure you have more than just 1 or 2. Have the financial resources behind you, because you do front a lot of bills, especially in these cold climates, heat, and so on and so forth. And you probably had electric bills out the wazoo with Arizona heat, so on and so forth. And you need a ground team, to help you manage all that. But it can be very lucrative if you have those systems in place. It's definitely worth the effort.
Yeah, I think within my first 6 months of getting heavy into REO, I was about $250,000 out in receivables. But that was back to when you had to front, the cash for keys. I had a front for carpet.
We never had to front the cash for keys,
fortunately. Yeah, those
were,
and I had a couple of banks that were smaller banks that ended up going under, filing BK, and I was out $40,000, $50,000 in receivables, never got it back. And now when you say that, okay, that sucked. but man, I made so many millions during that time where it's cost of doing business, man. Right? Where it's
Right,
all part
right.
of it. And I agree, man. We're seeing a huge uptick in notice of defaults, and the mistake that I made during the great financial crisis is I was so laser focused on REO, because I got in with 35 different banks, asset management firms, and Fannie Direct being the biggest. And,
Right.
I mean, that pretty much was the level of business that the other 34 had combined. All right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I was so focused on that. Now we did a bunch of short sales, but if I would have been strategic with this, because short sales, you're not at the mercy of the bank on feeding you properties. Where short
Right.
sales, I can get infinite amount because the homeowner gets to choose. And if I
Right.
would have been, because hindsight's always 2020, but this time around, because we're seeing a big uptick in Phoenix at least.
Oh, wow.
Okay, developing, such a dialed-in shop because most realtors don't want to screw with them. Well, okay,
Right.
just send us yours. We'll give you a 30% referral fee. Let us list them. Let us negotiate them, and we'll just send you a paycheck when they're done. Right? So then I
Yeah.
can leverage, all the other agents out there, and like if I could do it all over again, I would have had a huge short sell division in addition to the REO division, and then an army of buyer agents to go out there and service all those buyer leads.
Yeah. And Chicago was an attorney state as well. So once I got it signed, handed it off, I might have to call someone for paperwork, but all the negotiation, the fees, the attorneys handle that. So you get in with a couple of attorneys, you sign up as many short sales as you possibly can, and then you go off and handle your other pillars of business because the attorneys are, once they're under contract, it's in the attorney's hands. It's out of mine.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting with DMV because you guys have so much government workers and
Yeah,
that have
we're
more.
kind of insulated. Yeah, we're insulated from the big ups and downs because we have so much government, military. That's why I don't here in this particular area, we might see some short sales and loan mods and pre-foreclosure sales. I don't think we'll see that big run up in foreclosures because we always have people moving in and out. There's always movement, military, government. That helps stabilize this area, so to speak.
Yeah, but your Texas team probably will get hit. I mean, definitely your Austins, your Dallases. I don't know so much about Houston.
Houston, they just kind of ride the middle too. They don't have the big ups, they don't have the big downs. So that price point in Houston, that's a challenge, because here everything is,
Yeah.
and so we had to make that adjustment. But our team there, they're cutting their teeth and they're starting to see some people that are in distress, and so we're helping give them that mentality. It's a whole different ball game. It's not about pretty. It's not about. We need to have solutions to help that particular client get from under that situation. That's the focus. All the staging and this, that, and the other, that's not what we're talking about. What can we do to help that client get the peace of mind they need to move on to the next stage? That's the total focus.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to distress sale, man, listing presentation, it's, everything's so different. You got to manage the
Right.
emotions and lead with so much empathy and compassion. And,
Right.
but, again, man, any given, whether the market's going up, down, sideways, there's always massive opportunity if you're intelligent enough to identify it and pivot accordingly, right? So I'm curious with you, okay, running multiple teams now, when you guys went from, because you built teams and, companies in 3 different states now, but moving to DMV was your first time now running a virtual team in Houston.
Right.
Like, what was that like? What were some of the challenges and things that you guys had to figure out for those that are maybe wanting to get into that expansion world?
Well, the first thing is the time difference. How do we, first, how do we sell these people? We have a daily huddle at 8 o'clock when we were in Texas. Now that's 7 o'clock for these folks. And so we said, we're just going to put it out there. 7 o'clock, Texas, 8 o'clock, we're all on the huddle together. So having that daily huddle and selling everybody on the idea, everybody's been okay with that so far. So getting over the time differences. And then one of the things we ran into was we had a database in Texas, one CRM, and then we had a different CRM. We found a better one for the DMV, weighing the cost to bringing people to the unifying the whole system, but it has made the world of difference. We all speak one language. We have one system about how to handle leads when they come in. And so if there's a training, everybody is at one time. We virtually share the screen, walk them through how to do this in the database. how to tie in the marketing platform. So those are some of the challenges. One, getting people speaking the same language, having people, even with a time difference, be willing to meet together, and we try to get it at the start of the day. So selling a 7 a.m. start time to the Texas team was a bit of not so much a challenge. They took it in stride, and then having them trust us enough that we go back once a quarter to field anything they need to keep them on track and build them up. They're a little bit more, they know us, so they trust us, but we have to continually earn that trust and show up and bring value when we travel back to Houston.
Now, have you found it any challenges to keep the same culture, as well as any challenges with resistance of, like talking to an agent in Houston to recruit them, but then they're like, hey, you're not even here. Like, do you experience resistance with culture and recruiting? And if so, what have you done to overcome that?
Well, fortunately, I haven't gotten that argument about us not being in Houston yet. I'm sure it will. Fortunately, my position helped familiarize me with a lot of agents in that role, that leadership role. And then the team success, or Kelly's success in Houston, got our name out there a little bit. So that kind of helps beat down that argument. Well, who are you? You're not even here. And then we have a great squad leader there. If they don't trust me, I can say, hey, meet with our squad leader, and she'll give you the full story on how we operate, and you tell me if it's a fit. So we've been able to get over that. I would say here in the DMV, it's been a challenge because it's just such a, I'm not going to say it's an entrenched area. People, there's some big names, and it's traditional. They don't, making a move is a big deal here. And so having to prove, leaving that one big name and going to a newer name that's making a move, the brokerage that's growing, having to sell that idea to them, that's been a challenge, somewhat of a challenge. Like I said, the sweet spot is that 1 to 3 year agent, but I would love to bring on agents at 20 years, or 10 years, and I may have the opportunity with where this market is going. Those solo agents that don't have systems, tools, and know how to handle this market, maybe not 10 years in, because they would have seen the Great Recession, but those that came in maybe in 2015 to now, they haven't seen the struggle and understanding. Sometimes just require you put your head down, focus on one thing, and charge. So I think there's opportunities for sure for us to grow even bigger with where this market is heading. Those people that haven't seen the Great Recession, I think there's a lot of recruiting opportunities, and I'm looking to take advantage of it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's one thing that, I know it sounds, to maybe some can sound insensitive or mean, but it's like, man, I'm excited for this market. You got, the amount of agents not working, that aren't paying attention, that aren't focused, that are just mentally checked out,
Right.
greatly, at least from my experience, greatly it outweighs the lesser transaction volume that's taking place. But then I'm seeing, a record number of team leaders and brokerage owners having to revert back into production, which means, okay, they're neglecting their agents.
Right.
Yeah, people need leadership in this market, man. So I'm like,
That's
dude,
right.
this is prime time, dude, for going out there and then recruiting.
Major opportunities out there.
Yep. I love it, man. I love it. So then, the cool thing for you guys too is, because you have these two teams, it's like, okay, even if the DMV market takes a little bit longer to build up, well, you can keep slaying it with the recruiting and the growth in Houston, and give that the time to, grow and expand and get the name more established and whatnot.
For sure. And that helped us make the transition here. Texas was going so strong, even while things was getting good footing here, still building up footing. Texas helped us weather that storm to get going, get momentum here. So definitely, for sure, being in the two marketplaces has its, takes a lot out of you to service it, but it has its advantage, because one is not doing well, hopefully the other one is doing well. So you have something to play off.
Yeah. So then, with DMV, correct me if I'm wrong here, but pretty much it's like the vast majority of people are like born, raised, it's not like a melting pot like Houston.
No, it's not as much. Excuse me. Well, you do get some people because of the transition between military and government, you do have a lot of people moving in, moving out. But once you get outside of that circle, it's pretty much, people are born and raised in the area. They might have, bounced between the three, but this is home base, the DMV.
So then I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you guys had essentially made the move to where you're at now with EXP because of the expansion team, just because it allowed you to be more profitable, to be able to, because I believe I'm not with EXP, so I don't know exactly how, but I think it's just, it doesn't matter how many states that you're in, you're still subject to only then one cap versus if you went and joined, franchises or other models where it's okay, you got to pay cap over here, cap. So essentially you're paying double the fees.
That's what made us make the move was, and this is a funny story, but it's true. So I'm the team leader of the office. And so we have the team in Texas, the team in the DMV. And so we get told by the franchise we're with, well, you got to pay for the Texas team. You got to pay for the DMV team. We're talking almost 50 G's. My wife was like, I'm not going to do that. That doesn't make sense to me. Keith, I'm leaving your office. So I'm like, what does it look like? My wife is going to leave my own office. And then she's like, why don't you just come on, go with me. And we fussed about that for months. I'm like, we do have a pretty good thing here. We have some, benefits and stability. We're not getting any younger. We definitely need health care, and we got that, so on and so forth. But so we fussed and argued for months. And she says, we can be in 10 different states with EXP and only have the one cap. I'm like, okay, that's big. And then I said, but I got benefits, I got health care. She says, they have healthcare. I said, why are you making up stories? I was like, come on now, you just making up stories. She said, here's the guy's number, calling. So he jumped on the Zoom with me and he said, okay, let's break down your healthcare. What do you have right now? So I went line by line. This is what I have. This is how much it costs. He said, okay, put it in the system. Well, with us, it's going to cost you this. $200 cheaper. I said, I'm not looking for an HMO or medical savings account. He said, no, this is a PPO just like what you have. I was like, oh, okay. So he had taken my argument away. And then when I looked at the numbers, I'm like, and she said, if you come help me with this team, because I can't recruit and lead. You know how to recruit. We can cover your salary, what you're getting with us working together. And after some thought, and I think the stress of not the stress of the position, but I started to feel like, you ever stop believing in something and it starts to affect you physically? My blood pressure, I have never had blood pressure problems. I go to the doctor for a physical, my blood pressure's up. And she's like, I want to put you on blood pressure medicine. I said, there's no way you're putting me on blood pressure medicine. I said, give me a month, I'll get this resolved. Cleaned up my eating. I looked at what I was doing and I realized I need to make the change. And so I agreed. I said, we're going to make the switch. And once I did, I haven't looked back. Knock on wood, praise God. My blood pressure is doing well. Health is doing better. And home is better because we're not fussing. So if home is good, everything's all good.
Yeah, no, I love it. Love it, man. So then, earlier you talked about, okay, being back in a market where skill set matters, the fundamentals, it's back to the fundamentals. And you're a guy that really cut your teeth in this business and in all the different markets by doing your kind of old school phone prospecting and what I'm seeing, not that marketing doesn't work in this market, but I'm seeing what works the best right now today for now immediate business is prospecting based business, right? Hitting the phone, pounding the phone.
Prospecting based, marketing enhanced. I thought you were about to say it before I could get it out. Prospecting based, marketing enhanced. Yes, I believe that 100%.
So with that being said, because again, a lot of people, you have resistance to this, or they just never really had to go out there and do it. But now we're saying, okay, you've got 2/3 of all mortgages in the United States that are below 4%. So you don't have the turnover rate that we normally do in subdivisions, and, lesser people are listing. You've got still 1.6 million realtors going after this lesser volume, so we're seeing, okay, the amount of, effort that it takes, now if you can enhance skill set, that can combat, the amount of, not necessarily having to work twice as hard, at this stuff. But, with that, what are top tips for anybody that's watching or listening to this, for them to, know what to focus on. And again, I mean, a lot of these people, I mean, I was did a mastermind a couple of weeks ago, and one of the attendees, was like, man, he goes, I ended up going out there and door knocking with one of his buddies that owns like a roofing company or solar. I can't remember what, but he was like, I just went out there and did it with him all day, not to necessarily get business out of it, but just to remember, what it's like to do this and redevelop those skills. Cause he's like, it's been so long since I had to get out there and pound the freaking pavement.
Right.
So with that, can you just maybe elaborate a little bit on, when it comes to effort, consistency, what you mean by increasing skill set?
Well, for us, every day we talk about, we in the huddle with commitments. What's your commitment for today? And we just had it this, we have a database. We spent a lot of money for the CRM, and we had to tell the agents, if you're not using the CRM, that's fine, but we're not going to continue to pay for a seat for you on our CRM. If you want to use your own phone or whatever you're using, but there is a cost to this tool, and we expect you to use the tool, and we can see how many calls are being made, the conversation. So we preach making the calls, and we're not saying it has to be cold calls. It could be simply calls to your sphere of influence. It could be calls to people in your phone, but you have to reach out and make yourself available to find opportunities. So making the calls is critical. Second thing we're talking about is knowing scripts are one thing, having the concept of the script. Everything is not going to play out word for word in the script, but have the overall concept of what to say so that you can be conversational when you hear it. So when you hear someone say, oh, I'm waiting for interest rates to come down, know how to respond to that. And you might not win them right there, but tag them appropriately in your database so that when you have information from a lender that says, we have a program that can get you in 2 points below the current market rate or something, now you have something to go back to that person with to re-engage them and hopefully move them off of that position. The other thing is, you talked about door knocking, doubling down on some of Texas, I was not a fan of door knocking, as you could probably guess why. The laws there, gun laws are a little bit different. But we had a listing, and I invited the team out and said, hey, we're going to we just put this on the market. We're going to door knock the neighborhood. I want you to come out and meet me. A couple of them came out. We created flyers. We door knocked the neighborhood. Went under contract quickly. We door knocked it again to say, now, hey, this is under contract, about to close. Just the reception of the 2 door knocking, plus the message that we got it sold in 14 days. That's something to say. People wanted to engage and listen to you. So you have something positive to say. So door knocking is not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing for those that want to do it. So I'm willing to get out there and lead the way and go with them to get them started and get them comfortable with it. So like you say, team leaders, we have to kind of get in the mud with them. We can't just say, you got to get back to basics. Some of these folks don't understand what that means, and we have to show them. So we're definitely hard on calling around any of our listings, calling your sphere, focusing on folks that have to do something. Even those folks that may have a 4% mortgage, but if things aren't going right at home, or they have a job reload, they have to do something. They're going to have to figure out how to accept the 8% mortgage and leave the 4% mortgage. They don't have a choice. And that should be our focus, but still stay in touch with that sphere of folks, because some life change is coming.
Yep.
We want to be in position to catch it when it happens. And then the other thing is investors. Investors are swarming right now. Yep. And so maybe that's who you focus on. That's another pillar you make your business on. Because this is one property, we got 144 leads for free from Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace, few words, a couple of pictures. They message us through Messenger. We send our response with our link that link them into our website, which automatically put them in our database. No cost, free leads. So the market of the moment, who has to buy or sell right now? Focus on your sphere, work your database, and you might have to get out and do some things you aren't comfortable with. Knocking doors, going cold, but there's business to be had out there. And for the few that are willing to do it, those are the ones that are going to win.
Yep. No, I love it. And I know that, you mentioned that you watched the video I put out this morning, but it's like, okay, like we're getting the interest rate objection a shit ton like everybody else is, but just like I talked about in that video, I'm like, look, dude, it's not the interest rate. It's the payment. Right. So then from there, we just, hey, we wanted to sell, wanted to go out there and buy, but we can't because the interest rates. Hey, I get it. Understand, these interest rates are absolutely crazy. So I know exactly where you're coming from. And it just blows my mind that, payments are this high, but just out of curiosity, if we could get your home sold, if you were able to sell your home and then go out there and buy the home that you're wanting to buy, but with that, we were able to get that payment range down to where you need it to be affordable for you. If we could make that happen. Now, I'm not promising that we can make it happen. It could be a shot in the dark, but I'm never one to give up on a client. If there was a way for me to successfully make that happen, would you then, be interested in moving in this market today? Yeah, right. So then, and if it's a no, okay, well, then I know it was an interest rate. That is the true core objection. But most people are like, well, yeah, dude, like they just don't know that there's options. They don't know that there's rate buy downs. They don't know that, okay, if I do a 20% down payment, I can get 9% seller concessions, apply all that to down, to buying down the rate. And like you mentioned, there are different loan products out there, and this is where, like you said earlier, man, we got to be great problem solvers. Right. Like you just can't hang up the phone in those moments. You got to go deeper.
But you just said something there with you had to be knowledgeable of these different answers. So you have to do a little bit of research or investigating yourself to educate yourself to have the solutions to then present them in an effective manner. So you just illustrated that perfectly.
Yep. Yeah. Cause I mean, we're, like expireds and FSBOs, the people raising their hand right now, but especially with expires, that's, one of the most common objections that we get right now as to why they're not relisting. But dude, it's such an easy thing to overcome. And not always. This is why I don't promise it, but so anyway, with that. So I'm curious with your daily huddle, like what you mentioned, okay, it's daily commitments. Like what is the structure of that daily huddle? Like kind of walk us through an example of what that looks like.
All right. So, we start with gratitudes and wins. So we're looking to get at least two wins, either win or gratitude, whatever it could be. Some could be personal, could be business related. And so we start off with that positive. And then from there, we'll go from and does anyone have any questions? And we do it on a huddle because if one person has a question, there's probably someone else on the team that has the same question, but just wasn't bold enough to ask. So we can address any questions at the one time on the huddle. Everybody gets the answer at one point in time. Then from there, we might choose a topic. So this morning was effectively utilizing the CRM and the marketing platform together. And to your point, let's say you have a client, you got someone that says, oh no, I'm just looking. They called in, they were on the website, and they say, oh, or, I'm not doing any ring right now. Fine. Feel free, or do you mind if I, allow you to use our website to search? Set them up on a search because they came in for something. They came in for one reason, and now they make, it's just like when you're shopping for something in a store, and a salesperson comes, can I help you, sir? Your instinct is, oh no, I'm just looking. And then 30 minutes later, hey, can you help me find a double X or something? You just weren't ready at that time. Set them up on a search so that they're getting what they want. They came looking for product. Set them up on a search. And with this, you can watch their activity with the CRM, and you'll know when they're ramping up, and you'll know when to call. But if you're not using the tools, you're missing out.
Yeah.
So that was the day's huddle. And then another day huddle, what might have been this week, was scripts. What do you say at a networking event? Give me your 10-second, 30-second elevator pitch. You meet someone at a networking event or a realtor event. What are you saying? So just going on over topics like that to help all of us generate more leads for our business. And then we end with what are your commitments for the day? And so like daily commitments is what kind of moves the needle towards your goals. And that's our philosophy.
Yep. So those commitments for the day are like, okay, how many reach outs, conversations, appointments set?
Exactly.
Just like 3 very specific, actionable. Okay. And then what is this taking? Like, hour?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Sometimes we go over, we try not to go past 40, but we try to respect everybody's time to get off the call, 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. So, I used to do these and I got away from it, man. And I don't know why I got away from it, but they're powerful. So, all right. So then from there, okay, is it okay? I'm assuming they're Monday through Friday.
Mhm.
So not on the weekends. So you give them the weekends off from that. And then is it mandatory?
Well, this is the way we do it. If you want to be eligible for live leads that day, you're on a huddle. If you're not on a huddle, we assume something came up. You're free to go to the pond and the past leads that are in the pond, but you're not eligible for hot, fresh leads that someone called in the day and the hot and live transfer. You're not eligible for those that day.
Yep. Yep. Love it, man. Love it. So Keith, for those that are watching and listening, man, if they want to continue following you on this success journey, or if they maybe have, I mean, we're all in the real estate industry here, maybe they have referrals for you, whether it be Houston or the DMV area, or maybe they're in those locations and want to talk to you about joining your amazing team, or have a conversation with you about EXP, whatever that may be. Like, where are the best places, man, to follow you, to get in touch with you at?
On Facebook is just Keith Jackson. I don't have a business page. I had a business page, but I figured that people want to see who I am really. So everything runs through my personal Facebook page, Keith Jackson. Instagram is Keith Sean One. That's my name. Keith, my middle name is Sean, SEAN, Keith Sean One. We're on YouTube, the KJax Group, KJax Group Texas, KJax Group DMV. And I'm on TikTok as, I believe, Keith Jackson. So very easy. Very easy.
Yep, I love it, man. All right, so one last question for you. So if, Keith today, knowing everything you know now in this, 22-year long journey,
Yes,
if
sir.
if knowing everything you know now today, if you could go back and have a conversation with yourself in 2001 when you first started this journey and give yourself a couple pieces of advice that you feel that would have greatly fast forwarded this success trajectory that you're on, what would those couple pieces of advice look like?
Don't be so transactional. Chicago presented itself as a transactional market, and we had great business there. If we knew what we knew now, we wouldn't have walked away from it. We would have started a team, kept that book of business. We were we had managing brokers licenses there. We could have hung on our own shingle. We just walked away from it and just let it go. So no matter what market you're in, be relationship based, not transactional. Even if it presents itself that way, show yourself, stay in touch with those people, because I find that people just want to know you're there. People that I've done business with in Chicago will still look me up and say, "Hey, Keith, I need somebody. I need help with a property here." But if we shouldn't have walked away. Those are people I've really had an impact on. But there's so many people we lost because it was just deals done, on to the next.
Yeah.
Never take that approach. Stay in relationship some kind of way, small gesture, card, something. Stay in relationship. And we could have had 3 operating markets versus 2. So I guess the biggest thing is always be relationship based. Stay humble. Stay humble. You never know what situation you're walking into. Even if you're having you might be the best realtor in the world, you all the money in the world. You might walk in a home where they just need help. You can't come in with that ego. So remain humble at all times and continue to grow. It's never going to, that's the best part about this business. You might see inklings of the past, but there's a whole lot of change coming, something new coming your way. So continue to be willing to learn.
Yep. Love it, man. Love it, man. Such powerful words of advice. And Keith, truly appreciate you taking time out of a busy day to be here, man. This has been a lot of fun, my friend.
Thank you for having me. And like I said, I've been watching you for a while, Josh. So now I'm on with the great Joshua Smith. So it's a big deal for me.
Yeah, now it's an honor, man. Honor's all mine. And those watching, listen, we truly appreciate you being here. Truly appreciate all your support. Keep crushing it. Keep kicking ass. And we will see you next time. Peace.
Take care.